Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hidden Secrets in Books. And you guys know I always bring the best of guests to my show. I take out my time to go out there to sort out for special guests to bring for you guys on the show. So today we have a very special guest. Today's guest is obviously is an author. Is Jim Marshall, a human development engineer, inventor, author, and the creator of Septemics, a unique system for understanding human potential, personal growth, and the hidden patterns that shape our lives. Jim, welcome to Hidden Secrets in Books.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
All right, Jim, I would like you to also introduce yourself to my audience.
Okay. I am the discoverer of hitherto unknown natural phenomena, which greatly aid in the understanding of people, from which I crafted a revolutionary practical philosophic system called Septemics and published it in the book Septemics, Hierarchies of Human Phenomena.
Okay, thank you so much, Jim. So I have some questions here for you, and I would like us to get into them. Jim, you have spent decades studying human potential across many different disciplines. What led you on this lifelong journey of discovery?
Well, the story really starts when I was accepted into engineering school at the age of 16. Now, of course, at the time I thought I was going to be engineering physical things such as airfoils and motors and gears, but by the time I had my bachelor's degree, it was clear to me that I wanted to engineer the human psyche, because that is the area in which we have the greatest mystery, the greatest unknown, and more importantly, the area in which we as a race are failing miserably. 95% of the problems in industrialized society are because people don't understand people, don't understand the spouse, don't understand the child, don't understand the parent, don't understand the boss. This is a huge problem that everybody has, and Septemics solves that problem across 35 axes, meaning for any given problem, you have 35 ways of approaching it. So, to make a long story short, I had a long career as a human development engineer, where I worked one-on-one with hundreds of clients of every type, and they all improved. But incidentally, I started to notice that I could predict the outcome of the session. And this suggested that there had to be something underneath this that was predictable. So the clients knew nothing about what I was doing or how I was doing it. This was not counseling, it was engineering. So the client would come in and have some specific thing, like he couldn't get along with his women or something like that, and we would work on it. And shortly into the session, he'd have a big realization, and he would feel much better about it. But I was able to predict what was going to happen because I came to realize, as I was doing this, that the client would be at a specific level on a specific scale that I had previously observed and recorded. So this happened thousands and thousands of times over a 40-year period. And every time it did, it verified my hypothesis. Also, when I would leave the session and go out in the real world and observe people, I would see exactly the same phenomena in people who didn't even know me. So this was very reliable scientific information. There was no possible placebo effect or power of suggestion. So by 1995, I had simply observed and recorded 32 scales that varied in length between 3 and 7. And I was pondering a difficult case. I was trying to find where this client was on a specific 6-level scale I had. And I couldn't find the answer. I couldn't see where she was until I realized that this scale had a 7th level. This is a level I had never previously observed, which is why it wasn't in the scale. As soon as I saw what it was, I understood the client perfectly, and I saw where to insert it into the 6th level scale. And when I inserted it, it went from being a line, which is what a scale is, to a plane, meaning a whole body of data. And all of these interlocking, intersecting, interacting mathematical data jumped out at me. And I said, whoa, whatever this is, it has to be natural law because it has mathematics embedded in it. I should tell you, I took 26 semesters of math and loved every minute of it. So when math appears, I recognize it. The whole point of math is that you start with an equation or a function and you coax data out of it and you get down to something useful. That is exactly how Einstein found E equals mc squared. So when these data jumped out at me, I recognized this as a mathematical manifestation. And then I thought, I wonder how many of these other scales that I have might also be 7-level scales that had not been developed all the way, because you have to realize I wasn't developing anything. So then, knowing what I was looking for, I looked at all these other scales, and in a short period of time, each of them went to 7 levels, and when it did, it manifested mathematically. So now I had 32 scales, each of which corresponded to a different area of human phenomena, each of which had mathematics embedded in it. And I looked at this and said, wow, it looks to me like I found a new subject, because I never saw anything like this before, even though I went to school for 28 years. My next thought was, I could help people with this. In other words, I could go from helping people by the hundreds, which is what I have been doing, to helping them by the millions if I put this in a book and get it out so people could have it and use it. So I'll have to write a book. The first draft was finished in December of 95, and I immediately sent it to colleagues of mine, all of whom had graduate degrees in a variety of subjects. And they all loved it. So this confirmed what I believed, which was that I had found a new subject based entirely on natural law that people would get. That was more than 30 years ago, and since then, I've been watching people get this. People do not have trouble understanding this because it's natural law. So after my colleagues had verified this for me, I then spent the next 25 years working on the book. Because first I had to discover the phenomena, and I pretty much explained already how I did that, although I did find 3 more skills while I was doing the writing. Then I had to take this data and use it to craft a workable philosophic system. That took 20 years because I had to create something that would work all the time for every person. Then the most time-consuming part was figuring out how to say this in a way that would make sense to the average reader. And I know I succeeded at that because people have been telling me for years, they get it. It makes sense to them. So that is sort of where this came from.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. So, for someone hearing about it for the first time, what exactly is Septemics in like for the first time? How would I understand Septemics if you are not hearing about it for the first time?
Septemics is a philosophical science based on the fact that many phenomena related to human beings occur in a sequence of 7 levels. Literally, the word septemics means of or pertaining to 7. Septemics comprises a collection of scales or sequences, each of which breaks down various human phenomena into a hierarchy of 7 steps. There are 35 such scales, each of which is unique, and together they span the spectrum of human experience, by which I mean any problem, dilemma, situation, difficulty that any person has regarding people can successfully be analyzed by one or more of these scales, usually more than one. And once you can analyze it, then you can predict what's going to happen. And once you can predict, you can manage it successfully. So the subtitle of this book is Analysis, Prediction, and Management of Human Affairs.
Okay, thank you so much, Jim. So, can Septemics improve relationships with family, friends, co-workers, and business partners? If so, tell us how.
A relationship is improved by using this material. Each of these 35 scales provides the user with an infallible way of determining the salutariness or beneficialness of any group, individual, or activity. If the group, individual, or activity moves persons up the scales, it's beneficial or positive. If it moves them down, it's detrimental or negative. So I am giving you a yardstick by which to measure human phenomena. More importantly, just finding out what level you or another person is at on any scale is by itself enlightening and beneficial. Every time you correctly find someone's level, you have an insight. You say something like, "Oh, now I understand why I couldn't get along with Mary when we dated 3 years ago." So you actually get a little bit smarter as a result of that realization. And then finally, once you know the actual level of a person on any scale, you can improve that person by moving them up one level at a time. This is more important than it might seem because I have solved the gradient problem that has bedeviled mankind for 6,000 years. Let me tell you what I mean by that. We all have difficulties in situations and dilemmas we can't resolve. More than 99% of the time, it's because you don't know the gradient. All successful therapists, coaches, facilitators, and so forth understand that human development must be done on a gradient. So these 35 skills, each of which has 7 levels, those 7 levels are the gradients. So each of these scales is a roadmap for success in the corresponding area. Because let's say you spot you're at level 4, you then target yourself for level 3, and you will be able to get there because it's the next level. If you target yourself for 1 or 2, you will fail because it's too steep a gradient. So this is very useful information and helps people attain their goals faster and easier.
All right. Thank you so much, Jim. So, what is the biggest misconception people have about personal development that Septemics challenges?
Well, I think the biggest misconception people have is that they don't understand that human phenomena are predictable. Most people think that people are unpredictable. That is not true. When you see this data, I'm giving you the actual patterns by which people behave. So when you spot a person on a specific level, you then can predict what he's going to do. And this is something most people cannot do. And in fact, most people don't even have the idea of that. So, for example, if you talk to most guys, they'll tell you that they don't understand women, if they're honest with you. You'll talk to a guy who says, "Yeah, I love my wife, but I don't understand her. I don't know why she does those things." Well, if he studied this book, he would understand because he would be able to spot her at specific levels. And the levels define how a person behaves at that level. So he then would know what she was going to do. So you need to get past this idea that human phenomena is unpredictable and unknowable. That is not true. It's just that people didn't have this book.
Okay, so for someone who wants to become the best version of themselves, where should they begin?
First thing I would say to them is go to my website, which is septemics.com, Septemics, where you can see what many readers have said about it, what many journalists have written about it, what the reviews are. You can read sections of the book itself, and there's even a pre-recorded audio entitled Introduction to Septemics that explains it to a new person in about 15 minutes. If you do all that, you're probably going to want to buy the book. And once you buy the book, you're on your way. Because when a person looks at this material for the very first time, doesn't matter what chapter it is, he will look at it and think or say, "Ah, this makes sense." You know why he says that? It's natural law. These scales are true the same way that Newton's three laws of motion are true, the same way that the Pythagorean theorem is true. These scales have existed for at least thousands of years and will continue to exist. It's just that people didn't know them, and I stumbled across them in my work and wrote them down in a way that people can understand and use.
Okay, so what do you hope people gain after learning and applying the principles of Septemics?
I didn't quite hear what you said. Could you say that again?
What do you hope people gain after learning and applying the principles of Septemics?
Asking what they gain?
Yes, what do you hope
Okay,
that they gain from it?
to show you how this works. Um, I know a lot about flowers because I've been into gardening my whole life. So you might say, "Oh, you like flowers? Come and look at my garden." So I show up at your garden and I say, "Oh, he has hydrangeas, chrysanthemums, irises, tulips, roses, begonias, bougainvillea." Now, the reason I can analyze it that way is I know a lot about flowers. Now, if you bring a 5-year-old kid into that garden, he will see and smell exactly what I saw and smelled. But all he can say is, "These are pretty and they smell nice." That's all he knows. There's no analysis. Most adults are like that little kid regarding people. They don't know what they're looking at. And that's why in the United States, more than 50% of the people who get married get divorced. They didn't know what they were looking at. If they did, they either would not have gotten married or they would have lived happily ever after, neither of which things happened. So, this is a huge problem that most people sort of think is part of life, and it's not, because when you when you learn these skills, you see you can spot people and understand them. So let's say, for example, a guy on Friday, he puts on his best suit and he goes to a bar to meet a young lady. So he's talking to this attractive young lady, and he's thinking while they're talking, "Boy, she's pretty and she smells nice." That's the same thing the little kid just said about the flowers. He has no idea what he's getting himself into. If he had this material, he would be able to spot her on some of these scales, and that would tell him, for better or worse, is this someone he wants to get involved with? And that would help him a lot as far as making a judgment. Um, if he spots that someone is at or near the bottom on several scales, that's a good reason to stay away from the person because, as I point out in the book, all the trouble on earth is caused by people who are at or near the bottom of these scales. But if he spots that she's at or near the top of many of these scales, that's a good reason to get to know her. So this is very user-friendly and very helpful to people.
All right, Jim, thank you for sharing your fascinating insights into human potential and the principles behind Septemics. It's been a thought-provoking conversation, and we appreciate you helping us explore new ways to better understand ourselves and the world around us. We wish you continued success in your mission to help others grow and thrive. So, Jim, before you go once again, how can people learn more about Septemics and connect with you as well?
Well, as I said earlier, they should go to my website where they can find out a lot about me and about the book. But I should say in closing, the data in this book is vital for everyone and can help you to achieve your goals faster and easier by explaining what might otherwise seem to be inexplicable or random. Most of the phenomena regarding humans is inexplicable or random to people because they don't have this data. Once you study the book, you'll see that people are actually very predictable. You just have to spot what level they're at.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. I also want to thank my audience, my beautiful audience. You guys are the reason why we are able to do this every day. And do have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much, Jim.